visits to the region, make contact every so often. On our most recent get-together, he mentioned how his life had unwittingly followed much of mine. Army officer, Special Forces and Oman, together with tackling the world's extremes in the mountains, poles, deserts and jungles. I'm humbled that, as a teenager growing up in the New Forest in southern England, he considers me one of his greatest influences, and I was delighted to write the foreword for his first book, Footsteps of Thesiger, which traced his journey by camel and foot across the empty quarter of the Arabian desert. Unlike me, Adrian has always been a mountaineer first and foremost, and having accomplished some impressive feats on all terrains in his life, I wasn't entirely surprised when he told me he was returning to the mountains to attempt, arguably, the greatest of them all, K2. I've always felt a cold shiver at the merest mention of the world's second highest mountain, and the appalling statistics on it make for somber reading. I fully accept, therefore, that for the vast majority of people, it is unfathomable why anyone would want to risk their life climbing it. And yet that viewpoint, whilst completely understandable, undermines the very essence of an intrinsic human spirit and desire to push the boundaries beyond what may seem like common sense, whether it is in the mountains, poles, underwater, or even into space. There are few major accomplishments in all walks of life without there being some risk. The skill is to minimize it as much as possible. On K2 that is inherently difficult, and the huge risks and low success rates are undoubtedly largely in nature's hands. Luck will therefore always play a part in either surviving or succeeding, and Adrian fully acknowledges that he was extremely fortunate with both of his 2 attempts on the mountain. One Man's Climb is a remarkably honest and transparent account of the challenges, both externally and internally, that anyone who dares to take it on experiences. I congratulate Adrian for this fascinating read, for attempting K2, and for becoming one of only a tiny handful of Britons who have reached the top, and living to tell the tale. Ranulph Fiennes. Introduction. It was never my intention to write a book on the story and momentous events that occurred on K2 in 2013 and 2014. The initiative was only conceived when I caught up with a lady called Sequoia Smith in Los Angeles in June 2016, one of my regular trips to the US. Sequoia, whose relevance will become evident in this read, had become a good friend after my 2013 attempt on the mountain, and as a successful book publisher in the US, I wanted to get her advice on my planned second book on leadership and personal development. "The book I'd really like you to write is on K2, she replied to my surprise. "Really?" I exclaimed. "Is there still a market for adventure books?" "Yeah, if it's a good story, and yours is a superb one," came her response. And so started the long process of writing and completing this work, with my previously planned book remaining on hold for the present. From the start, however, I was determined that this wouldn't be just another adventure book, even if it was a powerful story. Rather, one in which I could include some lessons from my other hats as a leadership team and personal coach, sustainability campaigner, and passionate advocate of increasing consciousness, mindfulness, and awareness. A monk who sold his Ferrari, or The Alchemist, enveloped in a true story of life and death at the very edge of existence on Earth. In addition to the story itself and the lessons from the top, came a third major component. That is a deeply personal story in my private life that was so ingrained with my attempts on K2 that it became impossible not to include it in this book, whilst being as respectful and sensitive as I possibly could to others involved. Indeed, writing the book from January 2017 became a cathartic exercise from the intense experiences I'd had since 2012. The combined result is what I sincerely hope will be a universal book that appeals to men and women of all ages, passions, pursuits and persuasions, from mountain lovers to armchair adventurers, self-growth gurus to nature lovers, romantics to humanitarians. And if the resultant perspectives and views of our own lives in the world below, and of the world itself, strikes a chord with those listening to this, then a main objective has been achieved. It shouldn't take one to climb K2, of course, to recognize the preciousness, beauty and frailty, or indeed the unsustainability, denial and failings of our lives on Earth. Sometimes, however, we all need a profound experience to change a way of thinking, acting and being. I hope everyone who reads this work, or listens to it, is absorbed, touched and above all discovers something for themselves from it. Adrian Hayes, August 2018. Part 1, Chapter 1.